Hello everyone, this is Dear God Tinkle Hoy, and today the manga I want to talk about is none other than Kokou no Hito, which translates to The Climber by Sakamoto Shinichi. Now, Kokou no Hito is a seinen sports psychological manga that focuses on mountain climbing. The story follows our main protagonist, who is a boy named Mori Buntaro. Now, Mori Buntaro is an introvert and is kind of seen as an outcast among his peers. And the story starts when he moves to another school because of events that happened in his old school. But due to his nature, his introverted nature, he's unable to make friends and is kind of still seen as an outcast, just the way he was seen as an outcast in his former school. So he's kind of unable to make friends, but he ends up making two friends, a guy and a girl. Now, the guy who he makes friends with is the one that ends up introducing him to mountain climbing and kind of introduces him to the coach of the mountain climbing club. And from there, he kind of picks up an interest for mountain climbing. And a lot of things happen, and then we kind of move to the future where he's out of school and he's kind of doing mountain climbing on his own. Now, this is as much as I want to talk about the story without going into spoilers. So, like I said, the manga deals with mountain climbing, so you're going to see a lot of mountain climbing in this manga. It's going to talk about the techniques used, some of the rules, and some of the consequences, as mountain climbing is also a really dangerous thing to do and it's not easy. So, we get to see how our main protagonist, Molly, kind of deals with some of the challenges that come with mountain climbing. Now, there are three things I want to talk about when it comes to this manga. I want to talk about the main protagonist, I want to talk about the art, and I want to talk about one of the main themes of the manga. Now, as for my thoughts on this manga as a whole, I feel that it is one of the greatest mangas of all time. It's in my top three, along with Berserk, Blade of the Immortal. And sometimes, like, they kind of wrestle for that number one spot depending on my mood. So I feel that in overall quality, this manga is one of the greatest mangas of all time. I hear a lot of Vinland Saga and Vagabond getting thrown out, but this manga kind of gets left out because kind of as it's not as famous as them. It's not as popular as them. So this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this review. There are quite a few reviews on YouTube, and I wanted to give in my own input too. So yeah, one of the reasons why I feel that this manga is one of the greatest is because of its main character. Because if you check the greatest mangas of all time, or mangas that are considered the greatest of all time, 20th Century Boys, Monster, Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, Blade of the Immortal, etc., the Hito and the rest, Tokyo Ghoul, you will see that one of the reasons why they are considered some of the greatest mangas of all time is because they have strong main characters that kind of carry the story. For example, Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, these are mangas that are loved because their main characters are really top notch. They are really quality main characters and characters that we see develop from the beginning of their stories to where they are now. And that's why they are considered, some of the greatest protagonists of all time because they help elevate their stories. And that's how important characters can be to a story. So it's no surprise that one of the best parts of Kokou no Hito is the main character, Mori Buntaro. Now, Mori Buntaro, like I've said, is a character that keeps to himself and is kind of seen as an outcast, as a weirdo by other people. They don't really give him respect. Nobody really cares. People see him as a freak. But one reason I like him is because, despite of despite all of that, he kind of pushes forward. He ignores them. He pushes forward and he does his own thing, and that's really a strong message, because sometimes the whole world can be against you, but if you know who you are, you know what you stand for, you can just keep on pushing forward. And if you keep on pushing forward, you can make it. You can do anything you want to do, and that's a part of him that I love. I love the part that doesn't really care much about what people think of him. He's just climbing mountains, and he's climbing mountains because he likes to climb mountains. He likes the challenge of climbing mountains. So he isn't doing anything wrong. So what business do other people have with him? And that's really a strong part of him. You know, Especially if you're doing something you love and you're not hurting anybody, you're not doing anything wrong. Forget what people say about you. Like, forget about the bad things people say about you, because their opinions or their thoughts are kind of irrelevant. And that's one reason why Moribuntaro shines a lot. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is Moribuntaro is one of the greatest characters you will ever see in manga. Anyway, the next point I want to talk about is the art. Now, the art is done by Sakamoto Shinichi, and if you know Sakamoto Shinichi, or if you don't know Sakamoto Shinichi, then I'll tell you this: the guy is a genius. Now, he's not just the mangaka of Kokou no Hito, he is also the mangaka behind Innocent and Innocent Rouge, which is a series that deals with an executioner during the time of the French Revolution. It's also a great manga series, you should check it out. And he's currently working on a series now, DLCL, Midnight Children, which is a retelling of the story of Dracula. Anyway, in terms of his art is one of the best you'll ever see in manga. It's some of the greatest art I have ever seen, period. Now, his art style, is more of the realistic kind of art style. It's really great. The way he does his characters, the way he does his environment, and the way he does his panels. It's just beautiful and it's great. So, when it comes to art, the guy really knows his stuff. He's one of the greatest artists of all time. And he's one of the greatest mangakas of all time. And he's one of my favorite mangakas of all time. Now it's time to talk about the themes of this manga, or one of the main themes of this manga. Now, to me, one of the main themes of this manga, or one of the standout themes of this manga, is the theme of loneliness. And nobody better embodies this theme like Mori Buntaro, our main protagonist. Now, one of the messages that I feel this manga sends is the message that it's okay to be alone sometimes, and sometimes it's even better to be alone. And you see these two Mori's journey in the manga. Now, in life, people will disappoint you sometimes. It could be your family members, it could be your friends, it could be strangers, people you do not know. But one thing is certain: you will face disappointment. It's part of life, it's part of growing up. Now, with this having been said, it's easy to see why Mori is an introvert and a person that keeps to himself, because even in the manga, when he interacts with people, sometimes they kind of make him out to be the bad guy, or they just aren't pleasant to be around. So you can see why he kind of keeps to himself, and doesn't really want to interact with people. But as you keep on reading the manga, you see how his character grows and how he develops as a character and as a person. In other words, what I am trying to say is that this manga is well worth your time. It has a great story, it has great characters, it has a great main character, it has great art, and is done by a great mangaka. So give it a chance. I consider this manga to be a masterpiece, and I don't really have any problems with the manga. Plus, it's also completed and has just 180 plus chapters, so it's something that you can quickly read. It won't take much of your time. And if you read it and you like it, you can give Sakamoto Shinichi's other mangas a go, like Innocent and Innocent Rouge, that just have 80 or 90 chapters each. So, yeah. This is my review of Kokou no Hito, The Climber by Sakamoto Shinichi, which is another manga that I consider to be among the greatest mangas that you have never read. This is Diego Tinkohoy, and wherever you are, I hope you have a blessed day. Peace, and I'll see you again some other time. Bye.